happens in an amazing castle with a tickle-em-to-death torture chamber and a 500-player piano with 480,000 keys. It's a musical merry-go-round, sparkling with songs and dances, whirling you away to a new world of wonders.
Have a smoke. Have a cigar.
Don't mind if I do.
Something to eat. Something to drink.
Dr. T is sweet on Mrs. C. So is Mr. Z, the plumber, who fixes sinks and knows all the angles.
When the plumber Zabladowski has installed the last sink, I want him disintegrated. Atom by atom.
See the dangerous descent from the sky-high ladder. See the whammy duel between Dr. T and Mr. Z. See the eighth wonder of the cinema world, the startling, daring Wonderama in color by Technicolor.
Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to another movie review. And this review is going to be on The 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T, which was released in 1953. And the film stars Peter Lind Hayes, Mary Healy, Hans Conried, and Tommy Rettig. Now, the film was written by Dr. Seuss, along with Alan Scott. Of course, this is not based on a Dr. Seuss book. And like I said, he wrote the screenplay, he wrote the story, and he also wrote the lyrics, the music in the film, because this film is a musical and it's also a fantasy. Now, when this film came out in 1953, it did not do well. It was a major flop when it came out, and it has since become a cult classic, and a lot of people really enjoy this film. Yes, it does have problems. It's not a great film by any means, but I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. And yes, the script is kind of a mess, the story. But overall, it's just a fun time, and it felt, very Dr. Seuss-ish. And basically what the film is about is it follows this young boy named Bart Collins, who is played by Tommy Rettig, and he lives with his mother, Heloise, I think that's how you pronounce her name, who is played by Mary Healy. And Bart is taking these piano lessons, which he hates, and his teacher is named Dr. Tilwicker, who is played by Hans Conried. And pretty much Bart feels like his mother has fallen under the influence of Terwilliger, Hans Conried, and he ends up griping to his plumber, August Zabladowski, who was played by Peter Lind Hayes, and he starts to doze off, and then we see him in a dream where he is trapped at this institute that is run by Terwilliger, and he is a dictator. Terwilliger, Hans Conried's character, is a dictator in this dream, and he has imprisoned these non-piano playing musicians, like these kids, these boys, which he ends up getting 500 other boys to play this big piano that he built. Hence, of course, 5,000 fingers for the boys to play this big piano. And we see Bart's mother here in the dream, where she becomes Terwilliger's assistant, where Terwilliger is basically hypnotizing her, and Bart has to dodge the Institute's guards as he scrambles to save himself and his mother. And pretty much that's basically what the plot of the film is about. But the film is just absolutely a fantasy. But I thought, everyone did a good job here. Hans Conried is the standout of this film, in my opinion. And he just does a great job playing the villain Terwilliger. Just, every time, he gets on screen, it's very enjoyable. And he said that if this film was a hit, he said this in the interview. If this was a big hit, this title role would have changed his life and probably changed his career. But unfortunately, I said the film was a major flop when it came out. But Hans Conried, you all probably might know him. He voiced Captain Hook in Peter Pan, and he ended up voicing Snidely Whiplash in the Dudley Do-Right cartoons. So, but he did a good job, in the role as Terwilliger. Tommy Rettig as Bart Collins, very fun character. We see this film in the eyes, of his character, and I thought he did a pretty fun job in his role. And I really like August Zabludowski, played by Peter Lynn Hayes. I like the chemistry between him and Bart, where Bart wants him to be, his father. So a little cute moment between them two. But the film is very imaginative. It's very creative, and it feels like a Dr. Seuss book come to life. Like I said, even though this film is not based on a book by Dr. Seuss, he only wrote it as a screenplay. And this was the very first screenplay that Dr. Seuss wrote. This was his first and last, because after this film bombed, Dr. Seuss pretty much went to write, for TV for his books, But some trivia here: Dr. Seuss, in the wake of his success of Gerald McBoing Boing, he submitted a live-action storyline for the 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T in 1951. He followed it up with a 1,200-page script with themes of world dominance and oppression coming out of World War II. And although Dr. Seuss was unaware of it at the time, his film production had landed in the middle of a bitter feud between film producer Stanley Kramer and the head of Columbia Pictures, Harry Kahn. So, it says, thus the shooting of the film was fraught from the start. Stanley Kramer had been forbidden from directing the movie himself by Harry Kahn, and instead had appointed a studio journeyman, Roy Rowland, who directed the film. It says it also did not help that Kahn interfered constantly with the production by sending voluminous and unwanted notes to both Stanley Kramer and Dr. Seuss, which, of course, his real name is Theodor Geisel. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. So the film was interfered by the studio. It was studio interference. And it says, prior to release, a preview version was received poorly by a test audience, and it prompted heavy cuts by a studio and a week of reshoots, including a new opening scene. There was original 20 musical numbers filmed in there entirely. 9 were removed. The removed songs still survive with the complete musical soundtrack. And Columbia Pictures released the film a second time in 1958 under the title Crazy Music. So when the film premiered, first patrons began to trickle out after 15 minutes. So 15 minutes into the movie, people walked out. It says after an hour, it had become a tsunami. The leading man, Hans Conried, was quoted as saying by biographer Suzanne Gargiulo, at the end, there was only one boy left, and he was waiting for his mother to pick him up. At the time it was released, the film received, of course, negative reviews from critics, and Bosley Crowther called the film strange and confused. Hans Conried reflected on the film's box office failure in a 1970 interview with Leonard Maltin, saying that the picture never made its print money back. It was comparable only to Wilson, as one of the great money losers of all time, and that it would stop conversation for some years at any Hollywood social gathering. And of course, nowadays, the film has become a cult classic, and a lot of people respect the film nowadays than when it came out in 1953. But overall, The 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T is a fun film. I enjoyed it. It's not a great film by any means, and like I said, the script and the story, a mess, here and there, but still, it was enjoyable. So if you haven't seen this film, definitely check it out. But anyway, that's it for my review of The 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and until next video, I'll see you all later.